आरवम के इस सेगमेंट में हम बात करेंगे दक्षिण भारत की एक हस्ती से। इस एपिसोड में हमारे साथ हैं अन्नामलाई। अन्नामलाई का एक लाइन का परिचय ये है कि ये पहले आईपीएस ऑफिसर थे, फिर इन्होंने आईपीएस की सर्विस से रिजाइन किया, बीजेपी ज्वाइन की और इस वक्त ये तमिलनाडु के बीजेपी के स्टेट प्रेसिडेंट हैं। वेलकम अन्नामलाई ऑन आरवम।
வணக்கம் அண்ணாமலை, எப்படி இருக்கீங்க?
நல்லா இருக்கு மேடம். Since Saurabh ji spoke in Hindi, I think it's only fair I speak back in Hindi. Thank you Saurabh ji. बहुत खुश हो गया आपका नया वाला सेगमेंट में एक मौका मिला. You are exploring South, so thank you so much. Hearty wishes also. மேடம் பெரிய நன்றிகள். அருமையான பெயர் ஆர்வம் என்கின்ற பெயர்ல வந்து நீங்க you are trying to explore the southern part of India and taking them to a larger audience. Yours is a very popular channel. So thank you so much for doing this. I think it's a privilege for me to be a part of this show because it's a very unique show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna. And wherever you are comfortable, you can switch to English because our audience, they understand Hindi and English both. And we are creating this show for the larger audience. And I'm very, I will say honestly, surprised that you chose to speak in Hindi, because we know that
First
in
time
Tamil
I'm
Nadu,
hearing him speak in Hindi.
in Tamil Nadu, it's a big issue, and in the later part of the show, in the future episodes, we'll explore that thing as well. My first question to you is, before we jump to those regular political questions, I want to know Annamalai's journey. How were you in studies? Where all you studied? And when did you decide that UPSC is your cup of tea? Tell us about it. Your family, how was their reaction? Were you this serious when you were a student, or politics did this
And
trick?
your home in Tamil Nadu?
Okay. I am a very average kind of student when I started my life. I come from a place called Karur, which is actually in the middle of Tamil Nadu. It's right in the dead center. And my parents are basically farmers. And probably I'm the first guy in the village to get into a college. My family placed a lot of
First
premium.
boy in the village who went to college.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. My family, they placed a lot of premium on education. So though they suffered a bit, but they made sure I went to the best schools. I went to English medium schools. I went to the best colleges, whatever possible, they gave it to me. And I studied engineering from PFG College of Technology, Coimbatore. I did a 5-year program called Sandwich Mechanical. Then later I did my MBA from IIM Lucknow. So I came to Lucknow, stayed for 2 years, finished my MBA. Mine is a very slightly unique journey, and it was in Lucknow, in Uttar Pradesh, the love for civil service started. Traveling around Uttar Pradesh, especially the Purvanchal side, doing projects, seeing people there. I felt probably my life should get into a larger purpose. I shouldn't chase money or a corporate job or a CEO title. So that is when I decided to take my civil service. The Mumbai attack in 2008 was also a big factor. It combined factor. I gave my civil service from the campus. It was in the IIM Lucknow campus. I cracked my prelims. I cracked my mains. Then later I went for my interview and I got the Karnataka Cadre. So Karnataka Cadre was given to me by the government of India based on my rank and the choice. For 9 years, I served in Karnataka as an IPS officer. So it's a very different journey from an engineering to a management to a government service. But it all because of the area I was born, the village life, the exposure in UP, that gave me a wider perspective of life.
Okay, so before we move to that Karnataka Cadre and COP experience, I'm really intrigued with this response that as a IIM Lucknow fellow, you were traveling in Purvanchal. What were your observations? If you can share any anecdote which created an impact on you about the social responsibility, and I mean anything.
Many things. We come from a very slightly conservative mindset, especially South India. Slightly in terms of economic indicators, the roads are there, things are there, hospital is functioning. From there to come to UP for 2 years, 2008 to 10. Seeing UP from that perspective was very different for me. I could see a lot of poverty at the ground. I could see a lot of people doing small things just for the sake of money. I was very surprised first time in the Lucknow street. For 5 rupee, he gave me 8 puri. For 5 rupee, I was able to eat 8 puri in the Lucknow street, which was a cultural shock for me. And I could see people living happily in 5 rupees also, people living happily in 500 rupees also. This I saw in Lucknow. That was a rude shock for me in a sense. And many things, the construct I had in my mind about life, about how India should be, everything was challenged in Uttar Pradesh. At the same time, I also saw a lot of children who are not crossing their 30 days, meaning they were not celebrating their first month birthday. The child infanticide were very high in parts of Purvanchal side. There were many projects that was coming our way. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation were running some projects. We were doing some marketing projects for them. So the more I got involved, not from a management perspective, but from a very human perspective, what is happening? How can we apply my management lessons to solve that problem? That is when the whole new world opened to me. The government, the civil services, going there, making a difference to people's life. So I would always be grateful to Lucknow, grateful to Uttar Pradesh people for allowing their life to be opened in front of a complete stranger, a person from Tamil Nadu. Whenever I ask questions without knowing Hindi, they opened their house to me, they opened their lives to me. So that gave me a wider perspective.
How did you manage that, the language problem? Because you, I'm guessing, didn't have much, experience or any sort of interaction in Hindi before going to Lucknow.
True, Akshita madam. My Hindi was zero. It was literally rank zero. You'll be very surprised. The day I landed at Lucknow airport, I had to negotiate to go 20 kilometers. I had to pay 4,000 rupees to a taxi. My Hindi was that bad. So from there, picking up small words from my person who was helping us in the mess or in the room boys, but still my Hindi is okay. It is not great. It's an above average Hindi. But I always believe in a fascinating country like us with different kind of experiences. When you cross 50 kilometers across India, experience is new. The more you pick up a language, you understand that people better. So Hindi is always for me was a gateway to understand another culture. So that is how I see. I always believe in Bharadiyar's lines. He said, though I can speak 14 languages comfortably, for me the best language is Tamil. As a Tamilian, he was very proud about his language. But he made that statement after speaking multiple languages. So nowadays, what happens? The so-called pride becomes a chauvinism at a particular point of time. We fail to explore the other literature. We fail to explore other culture. So for me, being in Lucknow, being in UP, being in Karnataka, it has given me a very rich perspective about our country. Of course, I'm a proud Tamilian. I'm a proud Indian. I fight for every single citizen who's in a part of our country. That is our tradition. But I'm not a very chauvinist like a typical Tamilian who takes pride in this, that, and everything. Though I'm proud about whatever being in the state of Tamil Nadu, but this traveling gave me a wider exposure.
I think it's not a mind block.
Yes,
From
yes,
learning
open
other
to all
languages.
the ideas, as they say in Sanskrit. Asto masar, ano bhadro kratvo yantu vishwata. Let
Correct.
light and knowledge come from all the sides.
True, sir.
You were telling me about his experience and his image as a cop. How was it in Karnataka?
The word used for him always, those movies, Singham. That was very true for Annamalai. He was called Singham in Karnataka and across. You can
But he was
deny
a
it,
strict
Annamalai.
cop
It's
and
true.
very
You
popular.
had an image
popular.
of Singham. Why was that?
I don't know, ma'am. I was very tough. When I look back at my policing life, maybe I was too tough also, right from my ASP time till I was a DCP Bangalore. I was very, very tough for rules, regulations, stickler to punctuality. I never allow people to deviate. I was against petty corruption. So my life was like that, especially in Udupi. A lot of college going kids were there. At that point of time, some drugs issue, a lot of things were there. I was very tough on them. So slowly this image got built into people's mind that he's a very tough guy, tough cop, doesn't compromise. So my policing life was like that, ma'am. So I lived my life like that because I believed a government position is a huge responsibility, especially at that level, IPS, IAS level, when you are a district chief, when you have complete control on the district. I always believe that power has to be used for a larger purpose, better purpose. So I'm very proud of what I did as a cop. Never a single day regretted. A lot of people used to tell me, my colleagues also, maybe you are too tough. You got to tone down. But
You need
that's the way
to be
I was.
flexible, as they say.
Correct, sir. Correct. But that's the way I was. I did it my way. I took everybody along. But many things I was not very flexible. I just was very ramrod straight, if I can use that word here.
Okay. And then how did this politics thing happen? I want to know that the process, like IPS officer working in Karnataka, you were thinking something happened, you got in touch with somebody reached out to you. What was that process? If you can share those anecdotes, that mechanism.
The spark.
The spark and the induction process.
The spark happened when a 10th standard girl was raped and murdered in a place in Udupi. So when I went to the spot to retrieve the girl's body, because we had to take it for forensic examination, there were about 10,000 people who have surrounded that area, who are trying to hit me, throw stones at me, assault the policemen. So that was a rude shock to me, because a crime is a manifestation of a social problem. So till then, normally you see criminals, you see crime, you go arrest them, you put them behind bars. But that was a big eye opener, because the girl was raped and murdered because her school had only 2 computers. And being a 10th standard girl, her chance came 2 hours later. She used the only available computer, started walking back to her village, which is 5 kilometers away from a school in a place called Baindur, Udupi. So there were no government buses after 7 p.m. So when you look at why did the crime happen, one is the criminal part. Why did the crime happen? You could see a lot of social problems were there. A school that was inadequate, buses were not operational, 5 kilometers she has to walk. In the book also I mentioned, sir, I've written a book called Stepping Beyond Cocky. That put in my mind a larger process of thinking, can I solve it as an SP? I know I cannot solve this as a police officer. I can only solve it when I have a wider dimension of solving this problem. So like this, every crime had a story behind it. Though we were happy arresting a criminal and throwing him behind bar, but many a time I felt solving this issue holistically, I can solve this in a better way. But I never had the courage to leave IPS. I come from a middle class family, sir, and this salary was very important to me. My wife was working in Bangalore. I had a small kid also. My son was 3.5 years when I decided to quit. So I used to tell my wife, maybe I should start a foundation, get into grassroots, start working. But after 3 months, I will tell her, maybe I cannot do it. I will not do it because it's too risky. So that is the time in 2018, sir, I had an opportunity to go to Kailash Mansarovar. So it was a very big spiritual journey. So it was a 70-day journey where I was a part of a government liaison officer to take care of our pilgrims in the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra. The 70 days was an eye-opener for me. Being up high in the Himalayas, away from family, no cell phones. It gave me a lot of time to think. If I can still remember the second day of Parikrama, it gave me that insight that life is supposed to be lived in a larger way, in a better way, in a meaningful way. And this mind block was blocking me. Being an IPS, or maybe if I leave it, what will people think? Will people call me a fool? Will my parents be proud of me? What will my friends think about it? So the Kailash journey gave me that thing. Yes, you lived a life, a policing life. Now you want to go to the next stage where you think you can contribute more meaningfully to the society. Take that plunge. So Kailash, that 70-day, came back. I was a changed person. So I'm very spiritually inclined also, sir. But for me, if I can sum it up, that spiritual courage was missing. That Kailash gave me that spiritual courage to take that plunge. So I quit the service. For 1 year, I was running my foundation. It's called Be the Leaders Foundation in Karur and Coimbatore. I run it. We are in the field of skilling and education, agriculture. We have about 7-8 full-time volunteers. We work now. Politics happened as an afterthought. Good leaders, somebody whom I look up to, they spoke to me. They told me I should come, be a part of a larger change.
Who?
So here I am
People are really eager to know who approached you from BJP's side, because they were wondering, okay, there's this maverick cop who left his service, started doing social work, and then all of a sudden there's this announcement that Annamalai will be new state BJP chief in Tamil Nadu. So how did that happen? Who reached out to you? How's that process?
Let that be a secret, sir. Some good people in BJP whom I really admire, who work for our nation, whose name probably if I tell also you might not recall. They're not very popular people. So they said politics can be used as a tool to bring larger social change. That convincing was missing for me, because I deal with normal politicians in my daily policing life. They are petty to me. We are very aggressive with them, and that is the kind of politics I've seen as a police officer. But some 2-3 good people, they put this thought into my head. But politics, if used rightly, can bring a lot of social change in a very short point of time. So that brought me, and I never expected anything, never asked also. For me, when I decided to take a plunge into politics, then the next question is, ideologically, who are you more aligned with? Which party you can make the difference? For me, a natural choice was Bharatiya Janata Party. Though in Tamil Nadu, it was a very small party there. But for me, the decision was very clear. In terms of principles and values, this is the party I can align with. So I joined. Later, I was a vice president.
That's what we want to know. That must have been a very difficult choice, if I observe from the inside view. You were working in Tamil Nadu. We know that so far BJP is unable to crack that political code called Tamil Nadu, and still you took that plunge. You have been trained to do SWOT analysis as a cop in Hyderabad, Sardar Patel Academy, and then, of course, in your service. I want Annamalai SWOT analysis of BJP's trajectory in Tamil Nadu so far. What are the challenges? What went wrong so far? And what are your plans? If you can tell us in a summarized fashion.
I'm glad, Saurabh, you asked me this question. When Modi ji contested for the first Prime Minister election in 2014, BJP led the third front in Tamil Nadu. BJP got 19% vote share.
Okay.
So that was the highest for BJP. At that point of time, the DMK's vote share was at 23%. There was only 4% difference between our alliance and DMK in 2014. 2001, we had 4 MLAs. It is not that Tamil Nadu was not for BJP. The first MLA got opened in 1996. Velayathamji was our first MLA. 2001, 4 MLAs, now 4 MLAs. Now, with this background, sir, if I look at the strength of the party, our cadres, you will not see a more committed cadres than BJP cadres across the state. They do all the hard work. They are not part of the government in the state. Perennial opposition, keep spending money from their packet, grow the party. They take all kinds of brickbats from the opposite, from the ruling party all the time. They grow it. That is our biggest strength. The second biggest strength is Tamil Nadu is always a nationalist land, sir. If you look at the pre-Dravidian era, when the concept of superstition and everything was spoken in the parliament, Tamil Nadu had given the largest number of nationalist leaders at different points of time who had participated in independence struggle directly, indirectly, part of 1857 movement and everything, sir. That is our second biggest asset in Tamil Nadu. The third biggest strength for Tamil Nadu I see is a huge political vacuum in the state. The stalwarts like Karnanidhi ji, Jayalalitha madam is not there. I see a huge political wake-up. These are the strength I see where the party can capitalize. The opportunities, again, are more now. BJP, Modi ji, 7 years of rule now. Highest, big popular leader in Tamil Nadu. Central welfare schemes reaching to all the nook and cranny of the state. So it's a huge opportunity for us to take the party. The second biggest opportunity, as I mentioned, comes from the strength also here. Lack of great towering personalities where Modi ji is the biggest personality now. In terms of weaknesses, the ecosystem is against us. We don't have TV channels. Tamil Nadu, you see, political parties own TV channels. They build a narrative. They speak day in and day out. We don't run newspapers. We don't run big corporate companies. We don't have an ecosystem which has nurtured the DMK philosophy or the core Dravidian philosophy for a long time. So that is where we are lacking. We are building on it. In terms of weaknesses, the party is not actively present in all the 70,000 booths. We are in about 80% of the booth. We got to go and make our presence felt in another 20,000 booths. We got to be evenly spread across the whole of Tamil Nadu. And last but not the least, we got to break that narrative that we are against minorities. We are against certain segments of Tamil population. That narrative is acting as a certain weakness, which we are trying to break it. So this is how I would frame my SWOT for BJP in Tamil Nadu.
That's very interesting. Anna, in the last segment, we asked our guests for the recommendations. If you would like to recommend some film, music,
It can
books,
be anything. Food, plays, anything.
You would like to recommend to non-Southern. I'm not repeatedly saying Hindi because the East, we have viewers in East India, West India, and across the globe. So what would you like to
recommend? From Tamil Nadu, since
yes.
Akshita is there and she knows more about Tamil Nadu, and let me add my things to whatever she must be saying. In terms of, because it's a society with a lot of rich literature. It's a beautiful literature we have. I would say Tirukkural is a must read. Tirukkural is a must read for people understand governance, people understand how to live their life, people understand solution to their problems. Tirukkural is 1,330 couplets. It's a small, beautiful book. Beautiful English translation, Hindi translation is available. 2,000-year-old literature. The second book to understand the beautiful culture of the state, we have to pick up a book called Ponniyin Selvan, written by Kalki Krishnamurti. It's a beautiful book. Ponniyin Selvan is an all-time favorite. So books, I would say 2. In terms of travel, I would say Tamil Nadu is very different from north to south. Coastal part is hugely different. I would say the Western Ghat side is very beautiful. Where I come from, the Coimbatore, the Kerala border is very, very good. People should go. Kanyakumari, you get a very different feel about the state, very nationalistic. You see a lot of great leaders have lived in Tirunelveli, Kanyakumari side. T.O. Chidambaram Pillai, Subramania Bharati at different points of time. We can go when people stood up to British long time back. Small, what we call Kurlila Mandargal. Small, they were running a small federation inside. 250 years back, they all stood up to British Empire at that point of time. They fought. So that side, what we call Veeram Vela in the Mann, we say. The soil which contains bravery, the southern part of Tamil Nadu, people should Veeram Vela in the Mann. They should go have a look at all the people's great life. Then slightly when we come deep into Tamil Nadu, Madurai, probably a cultural capital, the beautiful Meenakshi Amman temple.
Meenakshi temple.
Meenakshi Amman temple.
The food is excellent.
Excellent food.
Any food you would like to recommend? Any food we should explore? Maybe here in Delhi, we can go to some nice place like Karnataka Cafe or something nice. But
Delhi, surprisingly, the quality of masala dosa is on par with Tamil Nadu. Now, everywhere you're getting the good quality dosas you're getting. But Delhi, whenever I come to CP, normally I go to Saravana Bhava. There, Saravana Bhavan is in Connaught Place. I go there. I see more North Indian friends than South Indian, 90%. We all stay in the
Oh, yes, we love that.
I don't go to any of these places. Make it at home, best.
Really? I must ask.
We all should go to Akshita's home to eat good idli and dosa.
But any dish you would like to?
Yes, sir. I would say there is a dish called paniyaram. Paniyaram is my favorite. Though you say idli and dosa, this paniyaram is a very unique invention. It's like a mini idli, but probably you add oil to it and then you fry it. So this paniyaram is must.
And then add some gunpowder, that masala.
Gunpowder is a new latest invention now. We normally add it without gunpowder.
You put a little kadugu
inside. Mustard. Paniyaram. And our focus is more on chutney, sir, not on gunpowder more. We have varieties of chutney. So we have 6-7 varieties of chutney. So gunpowder is an added element to it. So Madurai is our food capital, a cultural capital. So that is fantastic. Meenakshi Amman is must visit. Again, sir,
do you watch films? Because most of the politicians, they try to dodge this question in a very skeptical manner. No, we don't get time. Who is your favorite actress? नहीं, अभी तो time ही नहीं मिलता है. पहले देखते थे. They'll play very safe on favorite actress and films.
Annamalai is a young politician. I'm sure he watches.
I will tell you everything, man. No, nothing to hide. So I like a lot of films, especially South Indian films I like, because the Hindi films have become more aggressive, more fight. The Malayalam films are more nuanced. Tamil films have got a lot of variety because we've got a lot of young directors who keep presenting different genres now. The last film,
Malayalam film, you rely on subtitles or you know that language as well?
Sir, though I don't speak comfortable Malayalam, I don't use subtitle to get that flavor of that context of that movie. Okay. But at times I keep seeing the subtitle also if I don't understand it what it is. So 80% I pick up the language.
So if you have to recommend one film to us.
Tamil film is Thalapathy, superstar Rajinikanth.
She's a self-confessed Rajini fan.
Too many recommendations are the same.
Oh, correct. Both of us are like similar in many ways. So without Rajini fan, I don't think I can give you a proper advertisement for Tamil cinema. Thalapathy has got Rajini sir at his best.
Thalapathy.
It's one of the best introductions to Rajinikanth that you can.
Rajinikanth. Beautiful movie. Maniratnam sir is there. You have Mammootty there. Shobana. Beautiful movie. Great music. Thalapathy must watch for you today, sir. I will send you across a copy.
Look at you two Rajinikanth fans. I mean, it looks like that if we don't have time foundation, you can talk for hours about this film only, maybe.
No, it's
Rajini sir alone.
It's a great recommendation.
I will definitely explore this. Thank you so much, Annamalai. Before we stop this interview, I must tell you that it was very refreshing to interact, and I would look forward to have a detailed conversation about Tamil Nadu politics in our other segment, which is called Netaji Ghere Mein, where we invite politicians. It's a long form interview format where we talk for 1.5, 2.5 hours so that we get a detailed point of view and we can ask all the political questions which are there.
His calendar 1 month before.
Anytime.
Very busy man.
Busy
very busy man.
Thank you, madam.
So
how do you say thank you in Tamil?
Nandri Saurabh sir, Tamil Nadu vaanga varavirukindrom ungalukkaga kaathirukindrom. Welcome to Tamil Nadu. Thank you Akshita madam.
Thank you so much. Thank you.